And we're live. It is Thursday, March 27th, the year of our Lord 2025. It is 8 o'clock a.m. and I feel like shit. I don't know about you, but I have, like stuff coming out of my eyes, and I'm got a runny nose, and feel like I was hit by a train. But the show must go on. The sun is shining, the birds are chirping. I hear from others that it's going to be a great effing day. And Cactus, do you have anything to say about it? You are watching Dog Shirt TV, and it is an effing revolution in morning television. And one of the revolutionary features, and there are a number of them, let's be honest, is that sometimes I roll out of bed and I'm like, oh my God, I feel like shit today. I really don't know what I'm going to talk about on the show or if I'm going to throw up in the middle of the show. And I kind of do the show anyway because, it's a matter of habit. And, it's not like I can call, um, Mika Brzezinski and say, hey, can you, do the show without me today? And actually, Holly can't even do the show without me because that go live button is reserved to my account. And so Holly can sit there all she wants and pretend to be doing the show, but no one will see it. And another one of the revolutionary features of the show is that, uh, you know, I can think I'm going to be doing it with a dog on my chest, but then I'm not because the dog wants to have breakfast. And still another one of the revolutionary features of the show is that Holly can tell me in real time, cut this monologue short because it's just not up to snuff, and it's not really your fault because you're not feeling well and whatever. But uh, don't go on with this one because it sucks. And she has this chart that can actually convey that. And so we're just going to say we're not allowed to have fun anymore, but we are allowed to have a 2 minute monologue instead of the usual 6 or 7 minute monologue. Holly, thank you for joining us today. How are you feeling?
Um, well, first of all, I'm terribly sorry that you're not feeling well. You think it's an actual illness versus like allergies, because we are well into DC allergy season.
It's definitely not allergies. It could be, uh, I don't know. I have a COVID test going on downstairs. I don't think it's COVID because I just had COVID. And so I should be, I should have my own personal herd immunity going on. But it kind of feels like COVID, that sort of fuzzy head run over by a train kind of thing.
Maybe it's
Uh,
bird flu.
yeah, maybe I have bird flu. I'm gonna go with bird flu. Uh, so I have bird flu over here. What kind of flu do you have? Do you have swine flu?
Well, I have kind of malaise this week. I'm not gonna lie. I'm just feeling kind of a malaise. I'm not having any like I actually didn't post a new post for my newsletter yesterday. I don't know. My brain is just kind of like, no. So I'm having kind of malaise. This today I was going to go to another rally down at Capitol Hill, but I don't know. I've kind of hit a wall this week. I'm not gonna lie. I've done a few. I went down to Capitol Hill yesterday. But yeah, I think today I'm just gonna stay here and try to get stuff done that I need to get done. Um, and yeah, try to get over the malaise. Do some painting. I've done some painting.
Wow. All
So
right.
yeah,
Alicia Wanless.
Alicia's gonna salvage this.
Really?
No,
What was
she's
the
just gonna
rant
make
about though?
faces.
We just don't feel great. We're just like, nah.
I'm feeling sick, and Holly's feeling malaise, and you're feeling like anti-American fervor.
Oh, wow. No. I think I feel sorry for y'all. Yeah. Why are you sick?
Yeah,
What ails you?
I don't know. We've decided it's bird flu.
It could be anything in that country.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You're feeling increasingly sorry for us actually, aren't you? Especially
Well, like,
given
look, when I was down there the last time, there was a tuberculosis outbreak. I mean, I've only been in a few countries where that is an active thing. And I didn't think it'd be yours. Measles, okay, bird flu, COVID, because that still exists.
Well, bird flu, can be in Canada too.
It has been. We've had one case, I think.
Birds fly.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm wondering, Alicia, what Canadians made of our national security fiasco this week. What was the Canadian view?
I I have to start wondering whether, I mean, I can give you my view, but like after some responses today on Blue Sky, I'm wondering whether there is any national view on anything anymore. Um, my personal view is, wow, that's a level of specialness that I also didn't think I would see in my lifetime. The OPSEC, non-existent. Okay.
And I loved he said the OPSEC was, what does he say? The clean OPSEC?
yeah, our OPSEC is
Like in
clean.
the it's very meta. It's very meta that you would say that while you're actually exhibiting terrible OPSEC. It's just too perfect.
It's alarming, but then there was like follow-on stories that weren't related to this. Well, they are and they aren't. So there was one about the Venmo friend lists being public, which was interesting because why would
Because
those?
they're all journalists.
And also needing. Okay, yeah, there's a lot of weirdness there. And then the third story was I feel like Der Spiegel had a story out this morning about. Oh yes, some of the phone numbers in the chat, along with passwords for accounts, have been found online.
Awesome. It's great. And then not to be outdone, you know, mass deportation Barbie, dog murderer Barbie, Christy Nome, going down to El Salvador and, posing in front of um men illegally detained in a brutal prison. So that was nice.
Right. And then today I woke up.
Because it is, at the end of the day, one big component of Trump culture is influencer culture,
Yeah,
and and
absolutely.
and selling things, and so having the posing in front of incarcerated people is part of doing it. Actually, you haven't really done it until you've posed in
On
front of it.
Instagram.
Yeah.
Yeah. When is she gonna start like listing all the brands she's wearing? Like the pants and the shirt. The pants were
Don't give her any ideas.
the cute drawstring cargo, I believe, with a white tee and a baseball cap. She's had some other very nice outfits on her escapade. Of course, she's had the Kevlar. She could do a whole Kevlar fashion line, maybe, coming out of this.
Well, so I thought, today was going to be the day that I was going to film my uh, makeup addict unboxing video.
You're not
I've been working with Catherine Pompilio on the script for it,
nice.
um, and we practiced the hand motions because I didn't know this, but when you're an influencer, um, so all right, this is the product, okay, and you've got to get the camera to focus on the product, um, because and so what you do is you put your hand in back of the product and you go like this, and then the camera focuses on your hand, and And if you have nails, apparently you go like
I'm gonna
that.
say, well, you need a manicure for one thing, Ben.
Well, I'm not getting a manicure to film the unboxing video,
Why
but
not?
the point is that I had to practice the hand motions yesterday for the Makeup Addict products. And I hope, Makeup Addict, if you're watching, that you appreciate the seriousness with which I'm taking this, the verisimilitude here. Um, but the point is that Christy Nome knows all this stuff because she's already kind of an influencer. And and I think it's it's important that we value, we're criticizing the skills they don't have, but it's important that we value the skills that they do have.
Yeah,
Speaking
well,
of
I
which,
think. Oh, yeah. One thing, and I just think we're like 5 seconds away from a Christy Nome Get Ready With Me video. Don't you think?
oh puppy. Um, well, there's this really great movie that I've probably mentioned a million times that it turns out it was a documentary, and I think that the world is living it, and it's called Idiocracy, and definitely worth a watch because that's where we are. Nice puppy. But speaking of the influencers, this is the thing, coming back to the question of like, how did Canadians respond to this? I'm really wondering these days how, again, much of a natural national response can be to anything when you have such a fractured information ecosystem, right? Like, so we're saying all these things. It's remarkable to us who have some sort of a background around national security that this level of, I can't even say OPSEC and say it seriously, this utter lack of it would, turn the tides. But the people who support have been so bought in. And there was a great podcast on the Daily, I think it was yesterday or today. And it was discussing again this kind of media ecosystem, but really it's an information ecosystem that supports Trump and continues to support Trump. And it's unquestioning, right? So I also got some pushback from posting that on Blue Sky, which made me wonder again how
I
fractured it
think
is.
for my parents are well educated. They both have graduate degrees. They've lived many, many years overseas around the world. And they will find an explanation for pretty much anything.
But
So
why do we why did you get pushback for posting
I mean, it's
the
trolls.
daily?
I don't know who these people are. Like, I suspect that there's people who now get on Blue Sky to try to, counteract this left uh, group. But I also kind of wonder if there's an aspect of people who are really frustrated from what they perceive as a lack of response from Democrats. So yesterday, there was the hearing on NPR and PBS, and it doesn't like it looks like the leaders of these organizations can't do anything right. On either side, everybody's unhappy.
Well, all of which brings us to Kermit the Frog giving the commencement speech at the University of Maryland, um, which was announced yesterday is going to happen. And um, first of all, I want both of your thoughts on commencement speeches by fictitious characters. We're going to get to the puppet aspect in a minute.
Oh, you really meant Kermit the Frog. You didn't mean, oh, interesting.
No, no, the University of Maryland announced its commencement speaker for this year, and it is Kermit the Frog.
I had not heard
And
this.
well, that's you didn't read Dog Shirt
Um,
Daily last night, where
I did.
you would have been brought up to speed on this important piece of news. So Kermit, of course, was created in 1960 at the University of Maryland by then student Jim Henson, and so he has a history. There's a statue to him there, and he has agreed to give the commencement speech. And the University of Maryland issued a little video about it. Um, and I considered this carefully last night, and I decided that I'm pro. But there are some issues that we should discuss, and one is like the whole fictional character issue, giving commencement speeches, and so like if Kermit the Frog, why not Moby Dick? Why not? I mean, Moby Dick, there's the physical presence issue, right? It's hard to get
Whale on the
a
stage
giant whale
from the
on
19th century.
from the 19th but you
Who's
know, um, like, what's the limiting principle here? Is it somebody you could actually produce on the stage, or is any fictitious character allowed?
I mean, I just think why not Kermit? I mean, what we have a look who is the president of the United States. I just feel like we are driving off road in all respects.
Okay, but Donald Trump, whatever else you say about him, he does exist.
Kermit the
He,
Frog exists. What is
right.
existence? Let's have a philosophical.
Oh my God, this is like turning into Jordan Peterson. But what do you mean by the word exist?
Is that what he says?
You can't blame Jordan Peterson on us, Alicia.
Yeah, that's right.
He's yours now.
I thought he's at the University of Toronto.
No, he moved to the U.S.
I have a Jordan Peterson story, by the way, I can come back to. But back to Kermit. I mean, I don't know. Like there is a physical form, and I mean, I think everybody understands that. Didn't Big Bird? I think Big Bird gave a commencement address some years ago. I don't think this is unprecedented. I'm serious. I think I'm gonna say NYU had Big Bird.
I was
Really?
my head went to memes about Big Bird being in the chat.
Yeah. All right. Well,
Um,
all right. What about Darth Vader? Can Darth Vader give a commencement address?
yeah. I mean, I don't know that you would want. Well, first of all, James Earl Jones has passed away. Although I guess Jim Henson has.
Yeah. I
passed
mean,
away. But
that
there's a new
clearly being dead clearly does not
there's
change
a
the
new
culture.
Kermit though.
Okay. I think that
He went evil.
Holly's, I don't know if Holly said this or somebody else had said this in the chat, but there is merit in the idea that Kermit the Frog has engaged with human beings on the TV show, right? Like there is a level of interaction with an audience that makes it a little bit more uh, having depth of a character than just watching it on a movie.
All right, fair enough. But to go back to the sort of what is existence aspect of this. When Kermit the Frog gives your commencement address, who is speaking to you? So Kermit the Frog, of course, doesn't exist. It isn't a real. It's not like this puppy, right? Who, actually, he's not real. So you could say, well, it's Jim Henson, except that he's dead. Is it the
Well, there's a new Kermit. I don't know who that is, but
Kermit does exist, right, Holly? There's a physical thing.
there is a physical thing, but obviously he's voiced by. And then, well, also I will.
but Kermit is really the Disney Corporation, right? I mean, what we're really saying is that your commencement address is the Disney Corporation.
I don't know. I think it's the actor who plays Kermit at this point.
Who's going to write the speech?
Good question.
No,
Who
see, I'm
writes?
taking it back. Kermit isn't Sesame Street, so like I feel like if it was a Sesame Street character, it'd be more viable.
There's a crossover. It's a Muppet. Sesame Street
Yeah.
and Kermit are Muppets, and it's all one family of puppets. There is a logistical issue with Kermit that did not exist for Big Bird, which again, I'm pretty sure Big Bird did a commencement address, if I'm not mistaken. But Big Bird is like it's a suit that a human puts on.
Right.
Kermit is a puppet, and I don't know how, like, where is the puppet going to be operated from?
Well, so, I don't really know how that works. I think
I don't
Kermit is
either.
a rod puppet.
I'm glad I'm
So
not in
it's
charge.
from underneath.
Oh,
So
yeah.
there's another, I mean, all right, so I came up with a preliminary list of other puppets who should consider giving commencement addresses. Um,
Well, the
I
cactus,
the
obviously.
cactus. The problem with the cactus as a puppet, as a commencement address, is that somebody has to be speaking it line by line. I think you would have to kind of be there, Holly.
It would be tedious.
Yeah. But the alien is a really interesting commencement speaker.
The alien, like from the movie Alien, the evil alien.
Yeah.
Okay, so first of all, I think speaking of that and also Darth Vader, I think we can just eliminate evil characters. Let's not do that
Why?
because
The
commencement.
but wait, I want to make a case for the evil. First of all, a lot of people who are graduating are evil, and they need representation too.
I mean, we're all evil in parts, but I don't think of I think, well, the percentage of sociopaths in humanity is higher than people think. It could be as much as even like 10%, although probably more like 1 or 2%. Don't ask me why I know this.
Because the leading scholar is Canadian and he did most of his research in prisons, which may have escalated or increased the percentage rate.
Well, anyway, I just, in the older I've gotten, the more people I've met who I'm convinced are actually sociopaths. So it's not like they're vanishingly small percentage of the population. So in any graduating class, you are going to have like multiple sociopaths, but I don't think that that requires a commencement speaker that represents them. I think you want to, like, I mean, ideally any leader and any speaker or any, you want to encourage the better angel, of each of our natures versus the greater demon. I think that's obviously what we're living in now, is where we have a leader who is, doesn't care about that. That's not even a pretend goal of his. And I think that's a big part of why we're here. I think leadership is important. And I think speakers are, for the time that they are in the podium, a sort of leader. And so I don't think you want pure evil as your commencement
All
speaker.
right, but wait a minute. I don't think the alien, Darth Vader, is pure evil. But I don't think
Well,
the
he ends up
alien is just an animal with a life cycle that doesn't have to be happen to be very consistent with ours. She's just trying to lay her eggs, raise her babies, and eat. Like, I mean, I don't think it's fair to. I mean, you know, like she could be represented by the Lady Gaga song "I Was Born This Way."
you could
Um,
talk about
and
sociopaths.
plunged out of somebody's stomach this way.
I think sociopaths were born. I think Donald Trump was born with something missing in his brain. I think so. There's strong evidence that sociopaths are probably born this way. You can have compassion for that, but you don't empower that. You try to keep them on the margins of society, and if they commit a crime, you put them in jail.
What do you think, Alicia? Should we have aliens giving commencement addresses?
Um,
Elise is wondering, why is she here right now? She's wondering, what have I done? Why did I wake up this morning? Why did I click the button? How do I get out of here? That's what Alicia is thinking right now.
All right,
Right?
next puppet, Audrey 2 from Little Shop of Horrors.
Oh, I don't even know who that is.
Oh, Audrey 2 is an awesome puppet. And was originally created to be on stage.
Oh, the plant? Is
The
it the
plant,
plant?
yeah. So
Okay.
also a bit sociopathic, takes over the world, attacks the audience at the end of the show. But come on, she's funny. Um, and she could get up in front of the audience and say, "Feed me, Seymour." I mean, it would be a hell of a commencement speech.
Maybe I should have the tactist say that.
Yeah, I think you should.
Feed me, Seymour.
Right, there you go. And so, I think like if we're gonna do puppets as there's also the whole cast of Team America World Police,
Oh, I love that movie.
which
Oh my gosh.
like
So inappropriate.
really offensive, but
Very offensive.
you could have Kim Jong-un puppet singing "I'm so Ronery," um, and um, and so like I just think there's unexplored possibilities here.
Yeah, I don't I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that you might be overthinking this. But it's a worthwhile thing to consider when your brain is foggy with bird flu. It's a good show topic.
How do you
It's
know it's
not
not a
like
brainworm?
it's not like either of you are engaging it very.
I haven't seen a lot of puppets.
I mean, what? Don't shame us for like
I'm not
being.
shaming you. I just like
No,
I
not
have.
you, Ben.
Oh,
Ben
Ben.
is.
Yeah, well, Ben's also shaming if you don't read the newsletter every day. So it
Oh,
feels like every morning's a test. Like if I don't come on and I know what he's talking about and I'm not in the.
I have a feeling Joel is going to rescue this whole
I hope so.
enterprise.
Because my only
Uh,
offering here is the aliens from Sesame Street.
Oh, you mean yup.
Oh, I like them.
No, they would be a great
Or
graduation.
phenomenon, a phenomenon.
Yep.
Phenomenon.
I I like that. Yeah. Joel, what's on your mind this morning? I can't.
well, as
Anyway.
as per typical, I have a wrinkle to throw at you. Mr. Hawkinson and I a few days ago, or a couple days ago, got discussing. I've been making syrup at our place in the woods.
Maple syrup or
Maple syrup. Yep. We have a bunch of maple trees, and so I boiled up a batch last weekend. I'm going to be up there boiling up another batch this week, which means I may have a syrup surplus. And given our challenging relations with our neighbors to the north, which are not very far from me, I was thinking that I might send you all some for fun. But Mr. Hawkinson suggested that Ben, you may be resistant to accepting domestic syrup because it wouldn't come with Canadian tariffs attached to
I was
it.
going to say, you're part of the problem, Joel.
I know, right? So he was suggesting that I ship it to Alicia and then she ships it to you and she charges you the tariffs. How
What
do you
if
feel
we-
about this?
wait, well, I think what we might need is a sort of maple syrup underground railroad of
Right,
like
we're
smuggled Canadian maple
Right.
syrup.
We're syrup
Isn't it
bootleggers.
Where are you approximately?
Well, our land is in Wisconsin, but I live in Minneapolis.
Right. Okay.
Yep. So we have a whole pile of maple trees. Yeah, so I'm going to have a little bit of syrup on hand.
Oh.
What do you think? Should we start bootlegging syrup?
I think you guys should take the syrup and enjoy it and think fondly of us.
So leave me out of it is your answer?
No. Give them the syrup. Share the syrup.
Yeah.
Think fondly of
Yeah.
your neighbors. I
But I
don't
think
recommend the
Oh, by
syrup.
the
I
way.
think the syrup underground is an idea that
Uh-huh.
you know, what if we had like it was, you know, a bust the tariff syrup convoy of we got all those crazed Canadian truckers to fill their trucks with syrup and we had a sort of run the border with Canadian truckers carrying maple syrup and
Yeah.
makeup addict products.
Do you know who
Yes.
the truckers predominantly supported?
Yeah, of course. But now,
I had a question about that. My question was, do the truckers, are they still kind of Canadian Trumpers, or have they seen the light?
So I
have they
believe the term that
exported
they've
it?
come up here with is maple MAGA. That's the pejorative term. Um, I think it's a bit of a mix. There were lots of different people who participated in that protest who may or may not have been really like it brought in people from the left and right. It was peculiar and special. Um, the organizers of it, one of them has recently, basically, people have been calling her a traitor. I will try to find this link because she, I think, thinks we should become a 51st state. So there's some of them that seem to be really leaning towards the whole Trumpian worldview of things, and then there's others who the nationalism kicked in and said, screw this. I think that the conservative leader who really came to the leadership position on the backs of this has been forced to be a little bit louder about saying he doesn't want to be part of the US, but his polls dipped. I'm sure I've told you.
Well,
All
anyway,
right. So
I will
so
duck
here's
out and
well, wait,
allow
Send
you
the
wait,
maple
to.
syrup to them.
before you go, Joel. I
Okay.
wanna propose the maple syrup
Mm-hmm.
protest, which
Okay.
is 40 million Canadians, each with a jar of maple syrup,
I don't know if I
walking.
can come up with quite that much syrup.
Well, no, it doesn't have to. It should be Canadian syrup. We're going
Okay.
to deal with your syrup in a minute. 40 million Canadians, each with a jar of maple syrup, marching on the border and not paying the tariffs. And 40 million Americans marching on the border to receive the maple syrup and not
Mm-hmm.
pay the tariff.
We could do it.
That's my concept.
Okay, I'm in.
What do you think, Alicia?
I think it would be really hard to get the entire population to do anything together. So maybe you want to start smaller.
All right, how about 10 million Canadians?
We're talking
Well, there's
Wisconsin, which I believe borders Manitoba.
No. We can all meet in different parts of wherever you are, just go south. And wherever an American is, just go north. And you bring maple syrup, and the American brings his or her hands, and nobody brings 25% of the value of the maple syrup in cash. And so it's a massive tax evasion scheme done in public with pancakes.
plus if we have to do it in this area, then Wisconsin would be way easier because Minnesota would be way easier because Wisconsin we'd need a lot of boats.
Yeah.
It's sort of a
Right.
Dunkirk kind of situation.
Although you could have some like 1812 war reenactment stuff with
Yes.
period boats.
Yeah,
and
fantastic.
No, would it be easier? Because can't you load? I mean, like oil tankers, you could load a boat with a lot more syrup than you can a truck.
and spray it.
Yeah.
You could float it
does
down the
not
Niagara in barrels.
I'm coming up with forms of serious solidarity, and Alicia's like not getting on board with this.
I think you have a brain worm for sure today. I think that's I think we are all the victims
I
of
certainly
the brain
feel
worms
like it.
assault on your brain. And
Were you
yeah.
eating raw meat?
Always. um, so Joel, I love your concept. I don't think you should try to send. I think a lot of Canadians would take it amiss if you sent um, uh, maple syrup the wrong direction.
It all
'Cause-
travels south.
Right.
Syrup
I think all
drips
maple
south.
syrup always travels south. It sort of like oozes down
Right, yeah,
like
yeah.
the tree. It doesn't go north.
Nope.
And so
Unless, of course, you're south of the equator and then it runs up the tree.
That's right.
exactly. But they don't grow maple syrup, maple
No,
trees there. They grow capybaras. So we're gonna. I think we're going to run with this, but I think your maple syrup batch is going to be, orthogonal to the larger
Let's
problem.
combine the two concepts and talk about having a maple tree oozing sap as a commencement speaker.
It's like Groot.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah, like just put a maple tree on the stage
And have
and
it
let
ooze.
and open some, wounds and have it ooze maple all over the stage. And I mean, it could be very postmodern.
How long does when you open a maple sap thing?
Yeah,
Oh,
how do you
How
do this, Joel?
here's a
yeah,
Smoke is in
sample.
the tree.
yeah, I
How do you do
understand.
it?
So when you open one, like how quickly does it ooze?
So,
Is it like a faucet or is it
no,
like a drip
Drip.
more of a
drip?
drip. We get about 4 gallons a week of sap per tree.
And then that boils down to what?
It's a 40 to 1.
Wow.
Yeah, so when you buy syrup, it is almost entirely energy you're paying for.
Wow. Wow.
It is
See,
a labor of
again,
love.
further evidence
That's
that
labor.
Canada is a bad actor in the in the global climate change space. It's not just when you buy that tar sands oil from the evil province, sometimes you think you're just buying this beautiful natural product, maple syrup, but it's actually energy.
I actually was thinking about looking into,
Alicia's face right
yeah,
now.
I was actually,
But everything though. I mean, you're paying for labor, human labor in most cases.
Yeah.
well, so
That's
most of the
also
time what they
basically
do
a
is they put all the tubing out and then it's a pressurized system and then it runs back to a big vat in a sugar shack.
The big guys do.
Yeah.
Have you
Yep.
ever made maple syrup, Alicia?
I mean, I watched our friends do it. They do it. They're doing it right now.
Yep.
Where
I
is the
did.
main place where do all the provinces have maple syrup production, or is there like a main maple place?
That's a great question. I think most of it is in Ontario and Quebec. Quebec is the leading producer of it because you
Yep.
only have a small window of time based on the weather. And like you have to have the right conditions at night and day for it to run. Um, but Joel
And
can
Yep.
tell
It's
you
got it.
more.
are the
Yep.
trees unionized?
Not currently, and we've been really concerned about that. I don't want unionized trees on my property.
Right. What
I don't,
about what
you
what
won't have
about
to
in
worry about that
Canada?
anymore in the
Does the
US.
NDP unionize the trees? Like,
No, but I was wondering whether it hurts the trees, and I've been calling it maple syrup letting lately.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's
yeah, it's kind of
wounding. It's wounding of the trees.
yeah. I mean, I think it's a real issue that we need to talk about. That the entire nation of Canada is scarring these poor
I don't think
trees.
it's the entire nation. It certainly isn't the northern part.
It's
It's like
only the
it's
Quebecois.
And if a brutal border war breaks out, then we could have the whole we could have a whole issue of blood syrup, like blood
Right.
diamond.
Blood diamonds. Yeah.
Conflict syrup.
so that's
Yeah.
Right.
the most
Mm-hmm.
of the production is around the border area. And this
See,
is a
that's the
concern about
problem.
climate change is that you could plant maple forests eventually moving up, but will the ground actually support it? Could you actually prepare for that? The puppy.
Well, Donald Trump will do that anyway, whether or not it's a good idea. He'll do something like that. But I don't. This discussion has made me think that maple syrup is massively underpriced. Like, why does this not cost like $1 billion per ounce? The amount of labor
The market
and
won't bear it.
the ratio and the human labor and the tree labor and the ethical issues of tree wounding and there and that I think it's underpriced.
Well, I just would
Probably
like
is.
to point out that the replacement product, which is high fructose corn
Yeah.
syrup with a little bit of ether flavoring satisfies most people. And so
Now
that's
I'm
going to
being
drive down the price. Although I will say, in my new role as the promoter of all Canadian and Mexican products, um, use the real thing. Canadian maple syrup or Joel's maple syrup. Um, Pay the full tariff price proudly, run the border, do whatever you have to do, but get your Canadian maple syrup. And by the way, it makes a great face mask too.
Oh, did you try that yet?
No,
Should we do that next?
I think
It's
we should.
it's remember it's the eyebrow lacquer. It's the lacquer.
Yeah.
It was actually you guys discussing that. It made me think I should send you some of mine so that you could do your face masks with my syrup. That's what actually got me thinking about it.
I don't
Really?
actually think it's
Yeah.
good for the skin,
Is
but
that is this how you've trained the dogs to give you kisses all the time, Ben?
By having maple syrup on
By
my face?
putting food on your face.
No. And,
dog.
and Holly can verify this, that when we had avocado on our faces, we did not invite the dog to lick. There was a dog present, Lilo, who shows up
He's a psychopath.
on the video. Yeah, and
He's
he
a
is like
violent
Darth
psychopath.
Vader, and could be, by the way, a commencement speaker, and would speak to the dark side. But ow, that hurts, little thing. Um, uh, but no, the dogs lick my face with in an organic expression of love and obeisance.
Yeah.
This one has not learned to do face licking yet.
Oh, she's
Just
so
put that maple syrup mask on and
she's so cute. Oh,
Um,
So anyway, I will duck out and make room for others should they wish to come in and have a quick chat with the parting thoughts of if you decide that you want to entertain some syrup, let me know. I'd be happy to facilitate a syrup, scheme of some stripe. And
that
then
is
Ben,
awesome. I will send you a syrup address.
okay. And then Ben, sorry you're feeling crummy, buddy. Feel better.
Thank you.
I'm sorry that Joel's going because this is related to the maple. Mark seems to think, and AI return searches, which I don't really trust, seem to confer that you can make maple syrup from Manitoba maple. I don't think this is advisable because they're like weed trees, and you're going to invest in doing this, and that thing's going to fall over in 5 years.
Wait, what is a Manitoba maple?
It's a weed tree. It's a horrible tree that is like, it grows really quickly and then it falls over just as fast.
interesting.
And is it from Manitoba? Is this just like a provincial prejudice thing? If we had a Manitoba resident on, would she be saying these Ontario maples suck? Or is this a generally accepted fact?
You mean like Spanish flu?
Spanish flu, ah, um, you know, um, uh, I don't know,
They
China
probably call
virus.
it something else.
What is a weed tree exactly?
A weed tree is like a tree that you don't want. Basically, any plant that you don't want is like a weed, right? Like mint, you could love it, but if it takes over your garden, it is a weed.
Kudzu.
That's true. Weed is a well, it's a prejudicial designation, really.
True,
It's
we really
really
should
a
get
form of
rid of.
bigotry. Calling
Yeah.
things weeds is a form of bigotry and bias. And I
You don't
don't
garden, Holly, do you?
I do garden mainly weeds. So I grow a lot of weeds. I've had periods where I'm really into gardening, and that was a long time ago. I've moved on. I find having a yard a nuisance.
I feel that pain.
I
Yeah.
wanna, well, but you have like a 5 acre thing.
50.
50, yeah.
You have 50 acres?
Right.
Wow. How do you even manage that?
We don't.
Oh, it's like a wilderness. So
Yes.
because Alicia has like, all through the 50 acres there are, these little fortress turrets with machine gun nests pointed at the US border. It's a whole like fortress compound she's got.
We're not allowed to have machine guns.
Oh
Well,
man.
not
Well,
except for territorial
not
Going
for
to
self-defense.
now.
discuss our fortifications.
Once
First
you
of all, it's not
just
legal.
have like nuclear weapons in your house, like it's just right to bear arms. See, this is why you want to be Americans. Just you can assemble an arsenal.
It's true. That is the thing that makes you guys the most scary.
Yeah.
Um, I would like to point out that this show, which started in a very organized way with me talking about how I was not feeling well, has just really gone off the rails and is now formless and directionless.
And
And I
that's
I
sweet.
blame you.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Do you want to talk about something real for the last few minutes by
Sure.
chance? Alicia?
I'm just bewildered that we got blamed. I think it was a collective we. I'm not sure. It might have
Oh,
been me because, and then also there's talk in the chat that our acres aren't as big as your acres and metric system and weirdness.
Well, I would just like to point out to the chat that Canada is actually larger than the United States, so and it's less populated, so the amount of land per person is dramatically higher. So maybe their acres are bigger. Maybe Alicia's acres are like the size of entire states in this country. I mean, like Rhode Island could fit in, a tiny fraction of Alicia's property, just a few machine gun nests.
It's just skewed by the map, right?
Exactly. It's the what it's called projection. You know,
Polly,
what's
serious.
what
all right. Do you want some? This is not terribly serious news, but it is something that I found very exciting. And that is yesterday when I was on Capitol Hill for an interfaith vigil at the Capitol. I was walking back to my car and I discovered a national park or national monument, NPS, National Park Service property that I didn't even know existed. The Belmont Paul Women's Equality National Monument. It is the former headquarters of the National Women's Party, um, headed by Alice Paul and Ava Belmont. And this was the organization that basically pushed women's suffrage over the finish line in the early 20th century.
it's all been downhill since then.
Yes. And it's a historic home that was actually once the home of the Secretary of Treasury. I'm not clear which one. It was burned by the British in the War of 1812.
We call them the Canadians.
Right, exactly. And at some point, the suffragettes acquired the home, and that became the headquarters of the National Woman's Party, and it was the property of the ancestors or inheritors of the National Woman's Party and whoever owned the house until 2016, at which point the National Park Service acquired it and it became a national monument. And it's a very interesting place.
And
It
where
has
exactly is it?
it's right on Capitol Hill, about it's on the corner of, I believe, Constitution and Second Street, about a block from the Hart Senate building. Um, and it has a lot of interesting things, a lot of banners from the movement, jail keys, because they locked them all up. It has the Women's Party received at the time, back in 19, I believe 12 or so, artifacts from Elizabeth Cady Stanton and Susan B. Anthony that are still in the house as well. Um, and then one of the more interesting things is it had at least a reproduction of the sort of card catalog system by which the women, the activists, researched members of Congress. They were one of the pioneers of current day lobbying, where you get, you sort of isolate who do you think, you do background research, going into their personal histories and voting patterns and so on and so forth, to try to find who can you isolate to maybe get on your side. And so they were one of the pioneers of modern lobbying. Them and the Anti-Saloon League, which was around that time as well. And of course, women's suffrage and prohibition amendments passed around the same time.
And were much more closely related than people currently
Oh
understand.
yes, that was well, I did 19th century temperance, but the gender and the temperance movement is my dissertation, actually.
Cool.
Yeah, that's not really the word, Alicia, for it, but okay. Extremely nerdy. But anyway, I am a history nerd. I've also recently volunteered. I've signed up to become a volunteer for the National Park Service. And so I don't know, this site might be one of the places that I volunteer at, and, get to nerd out at. We'll see. There's various sites that I could be assigned to. But that was very exciting to me to find a new place in Washington, D.C. that I didn't know existed, that is very historical.
Well, that is awesome, and I did not know it existed either. Alicia, when did women get the vote in Canada?
I was worried you were going to ask that.
Because I realized the other day that I didn't, or while Holly was talking, that I had no idea what the answer to that question is.
1918, maybe?
So right around the same time.
Yeah, we weren't
Um,
great, but we have a heritage minute about our women who are not nice.
Wait, you have a what?
Oh, do you know about heritage minutes?
No.
Oh,
What's a heritage minute?
Okay, so 90s, the government, I think, gave some funding to create commercials that were widely played to strengthen Canadian identity and our connection with history. And most Canadians, especially any around my age, may be able to quote these things
So it's like
verbatim.
Schoolhouse Rock for us.
Maybe, I don't know. But one of them was, you don't want to have your picture taken with a woman who's not nice. It was one of the women who were championing this, and I'm going to send it now.
Cool. All right, so Alicia, we need an update on the Canadian elections because we had one from Ev the other day, but Canadian election season is so short that we need our daily fix or we're gonna miss it.
yeah, blink and miss the election. They had an election in Canada
Yeah.
while we were sitting here.
Yes, that your administration is influencing heavily. So I don't know where you were, so this is hard for me to tell you, but so what's happened? In the last couple of days, the Alberta premier, there was a resurfacing of her interview with Breitbart, in which she said that she tried to tell the administration to pause the tariffs so that it would stop giving the Liberals an advantage and help Pierre Poilievre get in, who's the leader of the Conservatives. But it was the word "pause" the tariffs that I think
Not
is problematic.
stop
Not
or
stop the tariffs, pause the tariffs, and also she went on to say that Pierre Poilievre is more in sync with the current administration. So, and now she's not backpedaling on it. She's continued to say there's nothing wrong with asking for a pause. So that happened. And then some of our security, our intel community came out with some sort of, not news, but about Indian election interference in the race for the Conservative leadership. They were also careful to say that they don't think that Pierre Poilievre knew about this or had anything to do with it, but that wasn't great. And then in response,
but for those like Holly who are bewildered by this sentence, by this back up and explain the gross tensions between Canada and India, which have resulted, in murders, in like we are not the country that is killing people on the streets of Vancouver.
Not yet. But your guns do. Okay. So we've had a long and storied history with India. In particular, we are home to many Sikhs. I don't know how many. Don't ask me for the amount off the top of my head. And also, our biggest terrorist event was the terrorist attack was the Air India bombing, which was also related to the Sikh independence movement. So this goes back a long time, and more recently, under the current government in India, there has been a concerted push to silence Sikhs, and that has included at least one assassination of a Sikh leader, and I think an attempt on another one. And there was a big. Beyond that, there was a big report
in Canada
on Canadian soil. It was, and Trudeau, I think, said that it was an extrajudicial killing that was sanctioned by the government. I'm not even sure if our High Commission is open there anymore. There was we kind of got kicked out once that was said, and of course, lots of denials.
Embassies, High Commission.
No, it's not. It's only a High Commission if it's part of the Commonwealth.
Yeah. I'm just making fun of your cute nomenclature for...
We got it from our lords and masters who are turncoats.
Yeah. Anyway, all right. So...
They're interfering in your election?
Well, they had already been. I mean, that's been going on. But they had been interfering in support of... Not in support of him, like, to be clear, he supposedly had no idea about this, but it was in the leadership for the party leadership for the Conservatives.
Wow.
So anyway, we've got lots of election interference, including from down south. It's tons of fun. There's very little that can be done about it. And Elon Musk is a Canadian citizen, so that makes it even better.
Wow.
There we go.
Sick.
Any new polls?
I think the last polls had them neck and neck. There was another issue because the leader of the Liberal Party declined to participate in a different type of French debate that's put on by a private station. The private station said that because of the state of media, they needed all of the candidates who were willing to participate to pay $75,000 to participate, and Liberal said no, they wouldn't. So that's not going down well because he didn't really do so great in the French leadership debate for the party. And now Poilievre has been attacking Carney based on his chairmanship position of an investment firm. It's been weird. I really wish that there would be more focus on policies, but here we are.
And so, all in all, is your impression that election is held today, who wins?
I don't know. It's anybody's guess. The polls have Carney and Poilievre kind of neck and neck. It's nobody knows. The other thing, Holly, that you will find maybe perhaps amusing is that the leader of the Conservative Party refuses to get a security clearance and has, so he couldn't actually be privy to the information about threats related to the interference in the election for his candidacy.
Well,
I have a question about this. So your politicians to run, do they have to get a security clearance in order to...
No, but he was leader of the opposition, and our intel community would have liked to have shared some threat intelligence related to election interference and cannot.
See, our people once you become the nominee of a major party, you automatically get the clearance for that. And I think, I feel like
you still have to go through a process. You don't just automatically get it.
Yeah, no, not ours. Even if you're a Russian asset, you get it. So,
and that's how you end up in a Signal chat.
That's right. Then that's how
Wait a minute. That's not fair to Jeff Goldberg. Jeff Goldberg ended up in a Signal chat just by having Signal. And
No, Ben, he hacked into that group. He somehow he used Leonardo DiCaprio from the movie Inception to put the idea in Mike Waltz's idea to invite him to the chat. And like that's how he hacked into the chat, and then he was invited, and then the whole thing was like a massive scheme from some sort of Chris Nolan film.
yeah, that's correct. That's exactly what happened. And look, we're going to leave it there because it's 9 o'clock and we begin on time and end on time. And Alicia, you get the last word.
Well, I only want to say that tomorrow we have a very special show with Dr. Lucy Jackson from the University of Durham on all things Greek chorus. So if you haven't named that dog yet, perhaps we can pick her brain. But
Oh, the dog has a name.
oh, the dog
The
did get a
dog's
name.
name is Cleo,
Okay.
Yeah.
which is Cleo is the muse of history.
An I, Cleo, right?
Yeah. And and but we are still calling her, Houthi PC small group for short. Um, we will see you tomorrow. We will be talking all things Greek chorus. If I'm vertical, and if not, I will press start, and Alicia will run the show from there. Hey, keep the faith. Don't throw up unnecessarily, and we will see you tomorrow.